Tell me a little bit about what it was like starring in Yoga Hoses.
It was great. It was definitely a surreal experience, a very unique first acting job to have to star in a movie with one of your best friends and be directed by a family member and to be involved with so many people that you know and love. It was definitely a very, very special experience that I don't take for granted at all. I'm very thankful. I don't even know how to say how thankful I am because I know that that is not something that happens often. So it was just an incredible experience and it just filled with so much love and laughter and happiness and just so many people coming together to work on something that we were all passionate about. It was great.
It sounds amazing. What's it been like for you? Have you always known that this is kind of the path that you wanted to take? Um, or was it
Yeah,
something you fell in?
I actually didn't know that the first time I wanted to really act was after filming a small scene in my dad's movie Tusk. And prior to that, I had wanted to be a professional bassist, like in a rock band or something. Um, and I was pretty set on that. And it wasn't until I filmed that I realized I fell in love with it. And um, that was never anyone's intention by having me be in it. It was more of like a family thing because my dad has put me in his movies like
Yeah.
forced or unforced since I was a child, like a baby. So I've just like that's something I've been doing my entire life. So it was more of like a family memento sort of thing to like be able to look back when I'm an adult and be like, oh, look at her grow up through my dad's movies. So um, it was never intended to be like an acting job, and then I just kind of fell in love with it after filming for that one day, and it just kind of like captured my imagination, and it was so much fun, and I suddenly just kind of became obsessed with it, and it was like suddenly all I could see myself doing.
Amazing.
So yeah.
I think it's really exciting. It was amazing watching you, and I'm glad that you've decided to do that. So, is music kind of out of your mind for now, or is it something you might do on the side?
I still play bass, and like it would be awesome to maybe be in a band with some friends someday or something, like I used to be. But um, I mean, yeah, I haven't really thought about it, but that'd be awesome if that could be like a side thing.
Sounds cool. I know a lot of the audience at Cosmo and a lot of my readers follow you, and you're quite vocal about being an activist and a vegan. How's that shaped your life?
It's definitely changed my life completely. I started, I went vegetarian 2.5 years ago, and that was kind of the start of it. I feel like I've had this kind of intense connection to animals for my whole life. I've always kind of just felt connected to them and felt I could understand them. Um, but I wasn't when I was younger. Like I wasn't thinking about how my actions would ultimately lead to consequences for animals, and um, I finally realized that what I was doing was hurting them, and so I went vegetarian, and then about like a year and a half later, I kind of felt like I wasn't. I started to become more involved with animal rights and being an activist and everything, and that I kind of realized that I couldn't really authentically be an animal activist unless I was vegan because I was still doing things that were ultimately leading to suffering for so many animals. So I just kind of took that extra step and went vegan, and I've been vegan for over a year now, and my life is just like it completely changed. It's like the way I think, the way I act, it's everything kind of surrounds the one question of am I doing anything that is ultimately hurting another living being? And so it's definitely changed my life for the better. But it's just made me a much more aware person in all aspects, and it's made me so much happier, and I felt even more connected to animals than I was before. And I've been able to connect with this whole new community of vegans, which has been so wonderful, getting to know so many great different people, and it's been awesome. It's been a really fun, unexpected journey that just kind of brought itself into my life, and I'm super thankful for it.
It sounds like you're very much walking your talk in terms of being an activist who sort of behind the scenes actually practices what you're saying.
Yeah, I put a lot of work into, like, I make sure that I am authentically, like, not just talking the talk but walking the walk. Like, it's definitely been come in stages, like first giving up dairy and eggs and all animal products, and then realizing, like, oh wait, I can't wear leather anymore, so then having to give away my leather and get a whole new like collection of shoes and everything, and then realizing, like, oh wait, I can only use cruelty-free products. So it's definitely been a long process, but I can proudly say that I am 100% cruelty-free at this point. There's nothing that I could possibly be doing that is not by vegan standards.
And it's incredible that, right? Like, I have no judgment towards it, but I know that in my own life, when I've tried to become mindful of things, you become so aware of, it's exactly like what you're saying, like, you don't realize that your face cream, or even the organic face cream that you thought was like legit, can end up having something that they can have something from, like palm oil or whatever it is, and it just becomes this thing that you really have to become very mindful of. So that's very, very impressive. I think it's very hard. I've personally tried to become vegan, and I've never managed to stick it through, so I'm finding this quite motivating. Hopefully it'll stick this time.
I don't judge you. It's a very, very hard thing to get into, but once you're there, it's so much better. I think the hardest part is just like committing to it and going into it like just ready to go, because it's a very shocking and weird and hard transition, but like a vegan lifestyle afterwards is not difficult at all.
It sounds really rewarding, right? I think a lot of what you're talking about also is about choosing the right thing and not necessarily the easy thing.
Yogahoser's is definitely a light take on history. History was pretty awful. America has some very dark history, but I mean, in Yogahoser's, there's somewhat of a tyrant, and I think that's still happens today. So, I mean, it could definitely be seen as a political commentary. I've heard many different interpretations of Yogahoser's. It's a political commentary, a commentary on veganism, which I'm pretty sure my dad never intended it to be, but some people see it that way with the Bratzies, or some people think it's a commentary on femininity or feminism, and so there's a lot of different interpretations of it, and I always think it's interesting to hear what people think of it, because when we were filming it, I never I was just kind of living in it, that I never really thought about what message people would ultimately be receiving. So I always find it very interesting to hear how it hits different people, because it's a ridiculous movie. Like it's beyond weird. So just to hear that it leaves people thinking about other things is
Yeah.
it's surprising to me because it's just like such a weird, messed up movie. But I'm glad it leaves people thinking.
So what did your dad want the message to be then?
I don't know. I honestly really don't know. I think it was. I don't. I really don't know. I think definitely like me fighting off the broad seas and stuff and like stepping on them and crushing them definitely had some phallic imagery in it. Like definitely his way of being a protective father, I think, in his own personal weird way. Um, so I think there's definitely some protective father aspects of yoga hosers, but I don't know what he wanted people, what message he wanted to leave people with.
I love movies for that everyone can take what they want from it at the end of the day, right? It's
Yeah,
exactly what you're saying.
it's like whatever you want to take from it,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Most of the time when people are struggling with, I think they end up projecting onto it. But what do you have any projects lined up? Is there anything you're gonna be doing?
Yeah, I filmed a movie earlier this year called All These Small Moments, um, with incredible people, and I love it so much. And that will be coming out next year,
Okay.
which is exciting. And there's some few other things that I have in consideration stuff. So we're just seeing what happens, what's best for me, and everything.
Amazing. I I know that you are sort of not I don't want to say at the beginning stages of your career, but in a lot of ways you are, right?
Yeah,
When you are faced with something challenging, how do you handle that?
in my career, or
Yeah, in your
like,
career, or whatever you're comfortable discussing.
yeah, of course. I mean, I think acting in particular is just, it's a lot deeper than people may think. It seems, and it is an incredible job to have, but it's tremendously hard being rejected over and over for any actor, because there's only so many projects and there are millions of actors. So it's definitely, that aspect of acting is something that I hadn't previously considered going into it, and it's something that I've had to deal with, and um, it's definitely been a struggle at times, but it's something that I've learned to deal with and accept myself for all that I am, and I've definitely had to. I've learned to appreciate myself more, because it can definitely be a process in which you start to get really down on yourself. So I think that it's definitely a job that you need to have a strong head on your shoulders for, and you need to be confident in yourself. And so just through that process, I've learned to deal with it by surrounding myself with only people that make me happy, and uh, definitely um, advocating for animals has helped me, because it just fills me with so much love, and it's something that you need to have a really full heart in order to do, I think. So I've definitely relied on activism to kind of fill that void from that acting sometimes brings. So I think it's something that you just have to look to different aspects of your life to deal with, and like seek comfort in friends and family, and activism, philanthropy, whatever you feel is fit for you. But yeah, it's definitely it's a weird career to try to pursue, especially if you're in the beginning stages. I'm sure it might get easier, but it's a hard job to have, although it's a great job to have. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds incredible. I interviewed Jessica Pimentel from Orange is the New Black, and yeah, she told me that she gave up acting the week before she landed her role as Maria Ruiz in the series, because she was talking exactly about what you were saying, how you just kind of go and you get this one rejection after another rejection, and if you're not grounded and you don't have some like another or something kind of outside of yourself, it can be incredibly disheartening. And she said she just got to that point where it was like, if I get rejected one more freaking time, this is it, I'm done. So she really actually says that that's part of the reason she got her role, because she walked in with such a fuck you kind of attitude. But I think it's just the reason I asked the question is that I think no matter who's watching, everybody kind of goes through some challenge or some difficulty, and there's always a level of kind of having to get through something. And so hearing you talk about how you handle your difficulties is helpful to our audience. Maybe they can relate to that. My last question for you is, I know that you've obviously grown up in quite a high profile family. What's that been like for you?
I mean, I love my family more than anything, and they're the people that inspire me the most. It's been a very weird life to live. A lot of strange things have happened to us, but like I've just come to accept it for that. Like that's my family, and we are who we are, and our lives are pretty weird, but that I love it, and I wouldn't want it any other way. It's definitely I feel very thankful because like I don't know. I've just been obviously every family has an influence on like the way that their child grows up, but I've just been so shaped by all the different aspects of my family, and like my parents couldn't be more different if it were even possible. And just having them just polar opposites has shaped me to who I am today, and I'm just so thankful to have grown up with such incredible people. And yeah, my family's a really weird mix, and we live a very weird life. But I absolutely wouldn't want it any other way.
I love that. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak to me today. I can't wait to see you in everything that's coming up. So
Thank you so much. Thanks for talking to me.